Hello there everyone, Ashen Flash here, and welcome on into a top 10 LEGO Marvel Superheroes video. With the release of the Marvel Mechs coming up later on this week, we did the review of all of the ones for 2022. There were so many incredible ideas that people were having. I mentioned some in some videos, and I really recommend checking out these two videos you see here on screen. I think that they just sort of sum up some of the things that I may not cover in this video. But I wanted to sit down and for the first time I want to actually split my list into two. We're going to take turns going like realistic ones and just like out of the box, wild thinking that I would love to see happen that I don't necessarily think LEGO would do. So just keep that in mind, and they're going to switch between each of them. So the very first one that we have up here is not necessarily a mech, but I feel like this is going to happen. A lot of people agreed with this idea in one of the videos earlier this week, was that Daredevil should be a mech. I really think with like his future in the MCU, having all the shows being brought back over onto Disney Plus, the fact that that minifigure as well is just so simple. There's no arm printing, there's no leg printing. It just screams a team up. And whether or not it's a team up with Spider-Man or he appears in another set or maybe his own, because I definitely think that with his popularity, maybe he could, especially if there is a season 4 coming on Disney Plus. But I think that another really cool thing would be a yellow and red version of him. So I'd love to get a yellow mech. That's not really something besides, I guess we just got the Wolverine one, but a bright yellow with red mixed in, I think would really stand out amongst all the other mechs, which is something I'll touch on with a lot of these different ones. Spot number 9 here, we have Squirrel Girl. I really just want a Squirrel Girl minifigure. I don't think she could carry a set, at least not without like having a TV show or something like that to come out like on Disney Plus or something like that. But again, this is just a crazy idea. Again, it really goes back to LEGO Marvel Superheroes 2 with the Squirrel Girl Hulkbuster. I just think that it would be so fun, especially now that we have this little squirrel piece. I'd love to get a Squirrel Girl mech, and I could just see it, with the tail in the back, as well as it just being a brown mech, which is something we haven't forgotten. I think would be really, really fun. The most realistic one here, probably on this entire list, is Spider-Man. And you're like, why is Spider-Man? You said he already has 4. Why does he need a 5th one? I'll tell you why. If they do a 5th one, which inevitably they will, and I hope that we don't get one in 2023, but if we do, which I could see them doing, I really hope that it's a new suit. And this is something I talked a lot about this week, but I really would just love like a symbiote suit. It's been a while since we've gotten just like a black mech, since the Venom mech. Future Foundation, a stark white suit would be so cool. Bombastic Bagman would be absolutely hilarious. I don't think it could necessarily sell a set, but I still would just love like one that would look like the Fantastic Four, blue and black with his little bag Minecraft head like they teased in the spider lair. I think would be really, really fun. And in spot number 7, it kind of is a little bit of both categories, but it's Deadpool. And I would really love a Deadpool mech. A lot of people have said like him holding the katanas in the mech's hands, which would be just so cool. Also, just getting a red and black mech would look super great. But it's been so long since we've gotten a Deadpool. He's only ever appeared in one official set back in 2012. That's 10 years ago, the day these new mechs launch later on this week, which is crazy. And I am just really hoping that with the new movie, Deadpool 3, that we get some indirect tie-in, whether it's a helmet or maybe it could be a mech. I think would be really, really fun. If they circled back to Wolverine, I don't think people would necessarily be too upset if they had like a battle set with Deadpool in it. I think that'd be really cool. And speaking of battles, I think this next one, Rhino versus Spider-Man, has a really good chance of being our battle set next spring. I think that if they were to take the 4+ piece from the Spidey and His Amazing Friends sets, put that on a minifigure, just sort of make him a little more grown up, I guess, and have him fighting Spider-Man, maybe fighting Spider-Gwen or Ghost Spider, to have that variant, especially after the popularity that I'm sure Into the Spider-Verse 2 is going to have. I think that would be a really fun set to have the two of them battling off there. And spot number 5, speaking of things that could happen in 2023, I go back and forth with this. Again, it could go in either list, but this is a Kraven mech. I really wonder if they're going to do anything with the movie. If we wouldn't get like a helmet or bust of Kraven like they did for Carnage and Venom, which was indirectly tied to that movie. So I wonder if we could get something in the form of like, here's a comic book Kraven mech. And I think that would be really cool. Like, imagine him with the spear. Again, color-wise, like having like an orange one would be really, really cool to see. And spot number 4, I really feel like this villain needs to appear in something in a Lego set, and it's Ultron. I'm shocked that he has not appeared in a set since 2016 in the Mighty Micros, and then the year before, of course, was Age of Ultron. You know, he's appearing in What If. He's just such a big villain from Marvel. I feel like he needs to be in a set, and what better way to have him have a metal mech suit? I think that'd be really, really cool if it was this silver-looking mech. Again, would stand out amongst the rest of them. And speaking of like the What If version, that would work so well. You get a minifigure version of it, but also like he's a little bit more bulky. You could get like the whole Infinity Stones all printed onto the chest. He could come with the spear in his hand, with his cape and everything. Oh my goodness, it'd be perfect. Spot number 3 here. This is probably the craziest idea that I have here on the list. This is a Fantastic Four combo mech. And it would be not necessarily, I don't know if it would be all 4 of them in one set, but it would be really cool. I guess it should be. But it would be this big mech, and it would work like Ninjago, and you'd bring in like Tooth Dominoes, the guy who is an incredible mech designer, and you would bring him on in, and they could form this giant Fantastic Four. I have no clue how this would work, but I would just love to see that. Even if, like, maybe it made the Fantastic Car or something, and it split off into 4 mechs. I just think that it would be so cool if somehow, not necessarily even just the Fantastic Four, but if there was some combo mech for Marvel. I think would be really cool if you were able to do that, especially looking at like this last Sicarian Iron Man suit that was like this Transformer. I think would be really cool to see them do that with these $10 mechs. It's there, it's possible. I'm not like a mech builder or a mock builder when it comes to that, but I really think it's possible, and I'd love to see someone try and do that. Spot number 2 here, we have Ant-Man. And unfortunately, that was rumored to be one this year. That was what the code name was on a retail site for the battle set that we had between Green Goblin and Spider-Man. And Ant-Man is just such a realistic pick, whether or not he is actually going to have a mech coming out, like maybe he's one of the 3 in January, or if he does get a battle, he is getting the movie next year, so it would be cool if like it was an Ant-Man and the Wasp one. Maybe he could fight off against Ultron, since, you know, he did make Ultron in the comics. But Ant-Man has to happen, especially looking at like who they picked this year. They picked Black Panther. He's getting his own movie this year. So I think that it's really fitting. And this next one, you've already heard me talk about it in one of the videos earlier this week, but it is my January wave. My ideal wave is Moon Knight, She-Hulk, and Ms. Marvel. And I just feel like with these shows, it looks like we're not getting any sets. There's also no spot for a Series 2 Disney Plus series this year. Maybe in 2023, but until then, a lot of people after these shows air are going to be clamoring for a Moon Knight, a She-Hulk, and a Ms. Marvel. They're going to just want it all. They're going to want the minifigures, whether it is from the shows, whether it is from the comics. People are going to want those minifigures, and they're going to be asking, where are they? And what better way to do that than these 3 mechs? You'd have a white one, you'd have a green mech, and then you'd have a blue mech with a stretchy arm. It's right there, and I really would love for those 3 to be the 3 that we get next January. I think that'd be really awesome. Although it doesn't necessarily follow up with some of the things that I've said here in this video about them planning for the year, because I believe all 3 of those shows would have wrapped up by the time that January rolls around with those mechs. But I'd love to hear your thoughts. Who would you love to see? What would be your number 1 pick? Maybe you have an idea for like a wave like I have here, or maybe a battle. Who would you like to see Spider-Man fight? And there's a lot of other villains that I almost put on the list, but I'm really happy with the list that we've got here. So I'd love to hear your thoughts. Leave them down below. Hope you guys did enjoy the video. Hope you all have a great day. I will see you all in the next one.